Welcome, everybody, to our BNI Talks webinar. Today, I've got my good pal, Jenni Butz, who I just saw a couple days ago in person.
I
Very
know.
exciting. And we're talking about connecting for impact. So prepare for an impactful presentation starring Jenni Butz. Jenni, everyone knows who you are, but give us a little bit of a background anyway.
There might be some new people.
Yeah,
right?
that's true. That's true.
Yeah, that's true. I was a member. I started my membership out here in the Seattle area in 2012. Was a member for 6 years, 3 as an employee, 3 as my own business owner. And I've been working for BNI for the last 5 years in June. I can't believe it.
Wow,
I
5
said,
years.
I'll give it 6 months. We'll see if I like it. Here I am. I guess I did.
And you remain, yes.
It's getting better and better every day. Right, Steve?
Excellent. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's Friday and it's warm here. It's almost 80 degrees.
It's 39 here, but it's not raining.
Yeah. So spring is here.
Yeah. Yep. Somewhere.
All right. Take it away, Jenni.
All right. I'm happy to do so. Connecting for impact. One of the things that I have noticed is that although BNI people are meant to be and are often the best networkers in the world, this is not always a place where we talk about how to network on purpose, basically. And so this is part of a presentation that I have done during International Networking Week, but I've tweaked it a little bit for today. And I only got to go to 4 or 5 places in International Networking Week. So a lot of you have not heard this information. And when I am traveling, like I did this week when I was in the Boston area, or when I'm going other places, I find that a lot of BNI members know some of the basics. They know that they should be in a networking situation, but they don't always know how to do it intentionally or strategically. And the analogy that I used Wednesday night when I gave a presentation in Boston was that I am not an outdoorsy person. I like to say that I enjoy the great outdoors from the great indoors. And I'm not much of a hiker or a camper or fisher or whatever. And so, well, the fact that I just said a fisher is obvious. I don't do it much. But sometimes when my husband and I are walking on a sidewalk, as God intended, we will take a little shortcut across the grass. And I'll say, hey, Tony, you know what we're doing? We're hiking. Now we're hiking just because we're walking in the grass. And I think that a lot of people believe when we go to a networking event, we're shaking hands, we're exchanging business cards, that's networking. And there's so much more to it. And you all as members have the opportunity to spend week after week with people who are teaching you and sharing their experiences about connecting in such a way that it has an impact on your business. And so what I'm hoping to cover today are some of the things that I've learned as I've traveled and had conversations with people in the last 5 years in BNI chapters, things that you would think everybody would know, but they don't. And even in BNI chapters, education coordinators can talk a lot in their education moments about these kinds of things. So maybe this will be if you're an education coordinator, this might be something that you go back and use for education moments. And if you are not, and maybe you're a new member, these are things to make your membership even more powerful. I don't want to say impactful. That's not one of my favorite words, but it will be powerful and it will have an impact. Right.
But
so
I will say, we had Matt Biggins on a few weeks ago, and a lot of stuff that came up in the chat was we need to get back to basics.
Yes.
So I think we're going to cover some really good stuff here today.
Yes, I hope that people will agree with you. Yes. So we're going to see what you don't know. That's where we'll start. And I think that if you are in BNI, to some degree, you believe that who you know is more important than what you know. And I love hearing stories of, well, I knew this person who was on the board of a nonprofit and she worked with somebody from this company and that person was a good connection for me because I needed to meet this person. Those are the kinds of things that have the impact on our business. So if you, like me, believe that who we know is very, very important, this is a reason for us to pursue this. Also, when we know better, we do better. And so if we have different skills and we've practiced, you and I, Steve, did the Networking is No Joke podcast. And I was even surprised, even though it was our idea, that we could do 30 different podcasts of individual topics about networking. And we would have done more had we had the opportunity. That's true. Yeah, so much more. But anyway, we will talk about a few of these today. I always think it's good to go to Merriam-Webster. Let's start with a definition. An impact is the force of impression of one thing on another. And so what I'd like you to start by doing, putting in the chat here, is what kind of impact would you like your business to have? What would you like to see happen to your business this year? We're just starting the second quarter of the year. So what are you hoping will be the impact on your business? Maybe you want more increased revenue. I don't know of anybody who would say, I don't want to make more money. Maybe you want more clients in general, or you want more of a specific kind of client, or you want new markets or something, growth. I love that. Oh, Donna, that's so great to grow from a team of me to a team of we, to expand your team. Yes, yes. Part of something bigger than my business. Great. Maybe Jennifer, a connection with a nonprofit or something. Brand awareness. Yep. Multi-states. I love that. That's a great ambitious impact that you can have. 20 new. Arthur has, I love that you have numbers. That way you'll measure whether you're getting it or not. Yes, we want to see some sort of an impact. And then when we know the impact we want to see, that's how our goals are formed. I want this impact. So at the end of the second quarter, I need this. At the end of Q3, this, and Q4, this. And then you'll be able to see whether you're getting there or not. Once we determine the impact we want to have on our business, then we have to know what creates that impact. And from this picture, you can maybe have a horrible memory. I hope I'm not triggering anyone. When a rock hits a windshield, it can have a devastating impact. Sometimes, however, a rock can hit your impact and hit your windshield, and it'll just be sometimes it'll be nothing. We love those. But sometimes it can be very, very dramatic. And when we connect any of our activities with the result or the impact we'd like to see, then we're far more likely to move toward the goals that we set for ourselves. This isn't just true in our business, but if I know what I'm doing here is getting me to this place out in the future, it motivates me and it keeps me going, keeps me focused on the thing that I want to impact. Now, there are certain things in business that will do this, but there aren't any silver bullets, no magic potions to instantly change our business into what we would like it to be. Specifically, what we're going to talk about today, connecting, are the kinds of impacts that maybe wind or water would have on rocks. It has an impact. It will make a visible change, but over time and incrementally. So we want to keep our mind focused on the impact that we hope to have, and know that our networking with other people to help us meet our goals is going to get us there. So for our purposes today, that's what we're talking about. That's what we mean by connecting for impact, to network with people to take us where we want to go in our businesses. It's about being intentional. It's about being strategic and thinking of your business plan and what you need to do to get to your goals. This is the same thing that's true whether you are doing it for your health, for your intellect. Steve, you and I have read a lot of books together, and we know we want to have these goals. And so these are the books I'm reading and the people I'm bringing around me. It's the same for your relationships and your health. Any area of your life, when you are connecting your daily activities to the goals you're hoping to meet, that's when you are going to have an impact. So that's what we want to talk about today. And we're going to start with the very, very basics. Networking 101, time for an initial pop quiz. On which side of your jacket or shirt do you wear your name tag? Just pop it in the chat. Where should you put it? I love that we already have first answers left and right. This is why we're having this conversation.
You can never be wrong.
Yeah, look at, okay, every time I bring this up, I think this is a silly thing. Everybody knows this, they're going to be insulted, but every time I see this, yes, you are correct. It is the right. If you said the right, you are correct on the upper right-hand side. And some of you who are wearing lanyards, you didn't put that in there, but that'd be like right in the center. You can, I'm sure there are other ways of doing it, but traditionally and very commonly, it is located on the right-hand side. And some of you mentioned it's because when you shake hands, your line of vision goes right to your right-hand side. And this is a lazy man's version of having a better memory, because if I am shaking someone's hand and their name badge is on the opposite side, it's far more obvious for me to go, oh, what's your name? What's your name? And it's awkward. But if it's on the right side, it's right here. I wish I could say to all you lefties out there. I wish I could say this is just designed to make it easier for us. Because it is, but that's not why. But it's so much easier for me with my left hand, just like I put my watch on my right hand because it's easier. I would go like this if I had to put it on my other hand, but that's not why it's over here. But we do this, and I was at a meeting this week where I think it was a chapter of 24, 25 people, and I counted 3 people wearing name badges at all. And as a visitor, I had no idea. There's another chapter where some were wearing name tags, some weren't, and they had several visitors, but I didn't know who the visitors were and who the members were. So at the very least, we want to be wearing our name badges. And if you have a company name badge that you take to other networking events, I highly recommend you wear it all the time. It's good for you to be memorable if people can see your name, because if you say, "Hi, my name's Steve," great. As soon as the next words come out of my mouth, I forgot your name was Steve. But I need,
you know, for me, either we're all wearing name badges or we're not, because when I go to an event and I see everyone wearing a name badge, I'm thinking, okay, these are members, everyone else is a visitor. But that's not necessarily the case.
Right. And it may be true, like a colleague, Matt Biggins, was telling me, well, when I go to those, I assume the people with name tags are the visitors, because they have the sticky ones and they got one. And that's a good point. At the same time, if I'm a visitor, don't make me work that hard. Right. Let me know who you are, who the members are, so who I could ask questions of. I wonder if you could also put into the chat what other things you notice about these 2 professionals in this image that would be a good first impression for networking. Eventually, we are going to have to speak, and the networking goes beyond the first impression. But yes, they are both smiling. I think that's so important. They have professional attire. Yes, they're dressed to impress. They're dressing for their profession. Body language is open. Yes, that's true. Okay, she's a little bit more open, sure. But also notice that they're making eye contact, because a good handshake, eye contact, and a smile are instant first impressions that say to a person you're meeting, I'm trustworthy and I'm approachable. And also a nice handshake. I had a lot of good handshakes this week in Boston. In Boston, they know how to shake hands. Men and women, men and men, women and women, people shaking hands, solid, good handshakes. Let's not have bone-crushing handshakes. Let's not have kiss my hand, I'm a princess, or dead fish handshakes. Let's do a solid 1 to 2 pumps, get out of there and have your conversation. But a good handshake, a smile, and eye contact is a great way to make a first impression. And with your name tag, they're going to say, oh, what a lovely, friendly person. I can't wait to learn more. And you'll make people you're meeting more curious about you. And then we can have an open conversation about business. Anything else in the chat here about, yes, eye contact is so important. Chapters online. Yeah, I bet you're excited to see each other when you do, if you're online. So I get that. I was with people. Here's another professional tip, just as a personal preference, is when you're saying this, Jennifer, about hugging. I met a lot of huggers this week. And Steve, I know you're not a hugger. And
pass.
Traditionally, I am not a hugger. In a professional setting, though, it is always appropriate to shake hands. It is not always appropriate to assume people are huggers, just as a matter of etiquette. Because I had several people, I would put out my hand and they'd go, I'm a hugger. And they just put their arms around me. And it's BNI, I get it.
Yeah.
Get it. But just as a rule, it's always okay to extend a hand. And then maybe after you've had a really great conversation and you're leaving, to be able to say, I really enjoyed our conversation. Do you mind if I hug you? It might seem contrived, but I do think for the non-huggers in the world, the default often goes toward hugging, and the rest of us are like, oh, okay. And we're caught up in the embrace. So that was just an observation I had this week. Yeah. Those of you who are listening to the recording or are on here and you hugged me, it did not offend me. I was not upset, but it did remind me of a talking point. I just wanted to mention that. Anyway, and I did force you to hug me, Steve, but I warned you, didn't I?
You did. You gave me advance notice.
And you said you would steel yourself, and you did.
And I did.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about what we're going to talk about, because we can't just shake hands and smile and hope that we'll get business from that. So let's talk about connecting our business goals to our networking goals. Who do you need to meet your goals? Let's also talk about ways to be interesting and interested. Conversation Sparks, that comes from a book that I'm going to recommend. Also in those conversations, giving before getting, instead of saying, hi, I'm Jenni Butz, here's my business card. Do you want to do business? Let's talk about other ways of warming up to that. And because I was an English teacher, and Steve and I do love a little spelling, punctuation, and grammar repartee, we're going to talk about how to do some emails and not offend people, or not how to look as professional as possible. Let's say that.
Agreed.
All right. So let's start with a question. What goals do you have for your business, and who do you need to meet to achieve those goals? So I'd like you to think about that. And if you have an answer to it, please put it in the chat, because I love hearing about what you all are doing. But as an example, if you were a person who wanted to add a second location, a brick and mortar to your business, you didn't know where to begin, you would need to meet several people to help you do that. And those people may or may not be clients. Of course, if you're doubling your storefront presence, you want to have more clients, but you also might need an architect, an interior designer, a general contractor, maybe a commercial banker. You'll need a mortgage person if you want to purchase it. You'll need a lawyer maybe for a lease. You'll need to meet those people to make your business goal. And a lot of those are not referral partners, and they're not clients. You also might need to meet somebody at the city who can tell you who can help you with permitting. There are lots of people you can meet besides referral partners and clients that can help you move your business toward the goals that you have. So I see, Sebastian, you're saying in here that you meeting an event coordinator would be good to help you. Maybe that's someone who can help you find more clients. It also might be someone who's helping you do something for a client. HR people. Great. A lot of us can't hire our own HR department, so we need those professionals to help us when we bring people in. Security companies. Yes, I remember here in Washington years ago when the cannabis industry first became legal. We needed lots of people to do very special security systems, special kinds of banking, all kinds of things for this very newly regulated industry. And they weren't always about finding clients, because it wasn't hard to find clients. Those were already available, but we needed other things for those industries, especially when they were in BNI. They had very specific presentations. Facebook promotions, yeah, digital marketing. Other tradespeople to help maybe with your clients when they need something you don't do. Great. So you know where you're going in your business. I'm looking here at the chat. It sounds like you know where you're going. You know the people you need to help you get there. So if your goal is expansion and meeting new clients, you're looking for people who can bring you new clients. If your goal is to fire some clients and only have other kinds of clients that you want more of, that might be a different kind of person that you need to meet. But doing this connection, making this connection, is the kind of impact you can have on your business, because if I meet the right people, I'm moving toward my goal, even if I don't necessarily have new clients. But it might mean new clients. It might mean, how do I maximize the valuation for my business because I want to sell it next year, or pass it along to my kid, or whatever. So that's kind of the filter that we want, is to connect our business goals to the people we need to meet. And you are already in a network to help you do that, your BNI chapter. So this can also help you form your weekly presentations. You may not just be saying, I'm a dentist and I'm looking for someone with teeth. I hope you're never saying that. But you might be saying, I am going to concentrate in pediatric dentistry. So I need preschool teachers. I need to meet preschool teachers, or whatever. So this can also help you within your chapter, as well as other places you're networking. All right, so now let's have some conversations that will have an impact. I highly recommend this book by Vanessa Van Edwards called Captivate. If you are a charismatic person and you think you just draw people to you and you make connections everywhere, I promise you will still learn something from this book. Because some of it is intuitive and some of it is not, and some is for extroverts, some for introverts. It was very, very helpful and very practical. And one thing she talks about are conversation sparks. When you go to any networking event, you are going to hear, how are you and what do you do? The two most commonly asked questions. There are other ways to ask those questions because remember, you've had a solid handshake, your name badge is here, you smiled, you raised your eyebrows, you made eye contact. Now you want to be interesting because when something is new and interesting, it goes to the part of our brain that's the stickiest, the happy memory place that's a good way of making a connection later. All of these conversations are not to make a sale because as I have heard you say a lot of times, Steve, networking is not about selling, it's about building the relationships over time. So this is not going to be driving hard to get yourself in the door somewhere. You're building a relationship. So she suggests, Vanessa Van Edwards suggests, what was the highlight of your day so far today? If you're at an after hours, or how was your weekend? What's going on? Instead of just, how are you? Because Steve, what would your answer be to how are you commonly?
Oh, I'm all right.
Yes. And where are you going to go with that? Where are you going to go with that? But at least if you
go to the bar and
up,
get a drink.
great, nice to meet you.
Yeah, moving on to the next person.
Right. But you can ask the questions differently. Like instead of what do you do?
Yeah.
What is your industry? What are you working on these days? Do you have any personal passion projects? Like, are you collecting anything? Another thing you can ask is like, how's work? What are you working on at work right now? What kind of projects are going on? I like to find out from people, what's new in your industry? What are you excited about in your line of work? There are lots of ways to ask these questions that are unexpected, and just twisting the question a little bit will make you memorable and you'll have more interesting conversation. Who wants to have the same conversation 20 times at a networking event? It's boring. A couple of questions too that I like to ask are, what kind of clients do you find the most satisfying? You could have one client, the same kind every day. What would be the best? Or who's the most challenging for you? I also like to say, when you get up in the morning and you're going to start your work day, what makes you excited? Oh, today I get to do this. What part of your job makes you the most excited to do your job? All kinds of things. I've heard the most interesting answers that lead to conversations I never would have anticipated. Like,
and that's a really great gauge on what kind of personality that person is, if you connect with them or not, by asking those types of questions. These are good.
For sure. And you want to be prepared to answer these in an interesting way in case somebody else has read this book. And they ask you, what personal passion projects are you working on right now? So, well, I'm putting together a packet for a women's group that I'm working on, and we just designed a cover and has nothing to do with my business, but this personal thing makes me excited. Oh, well, can I help you? That leads to our next thing. How can I help you with that personal project? Because remember, we're building relationships. We're not just selling at these networking opportunities. So giver's gain is something that's in our DNA at BNI. We want to ask, if not the overt question, how can I help you? We want that to be the framework we come with. I want to offer you something of value. I don't want to shove my business card in your hand and hope you'll do business with me. I want to make a connection. And in this part of a conversation, you're setting the groundwork for a follow-up email or phone call to say, remember when we talked about this? Now I'm following up. You're establishing your trustworthiness, you're building on the relationship, and you're putting yourself in a position to be a helpful resource that another person can start to rely on, and that makes you valuable. Another thing that you can talk about is, what kind of information can we share with each other to help each other? And you immediately put yourself in kind of a collaborative position in areas like book recommendations. I know, Steve, you and I have talked about that a lot. What book would you like to read? When you have an opportunity to go into national or regional speed networking, this would be a question I would ask in the breakout rooms. What books are you reading right now to help you with your business? What podcasts are you listening to? Who is helping you? What's out there? These are my two favorite things to talk about with people, because there are way too many books and podcasts in the world for us to curate on our own. We need to be talking to other people. I would have half a dozen to say to people, whatever you do, don't waste your time on this, this, and this. You don't even need to bother. Let me help you that way. And then we can have some that are also really great. Maybe you can help them by introducing them to a person. Once you've asked those interesting questions, like, oh, my personal passion project is I want to run in the Boston Marathon. Well, you can't do it on Monday, but maybe in the next year. I know somebody who is specifically helping people in qualifying races around the country for the next year. Let me do an introduction for you. That's not even a business conversation, but you've made a connection, you've started a relationship, and you've positioned yourself as a valuable resource. That person will remember you if you wore your name tag, and then you can continue to build the relationship. Also, just any kind of information that you might want to share with each other. I've been resourcing, maybe getting into equestrian hobbies. What do you know? I really don't know that much. Well, let's research. Who do you know? There's somebody here. I met somebody at the event on Wednesday night. She's a kitchen designer. And I said, oh, I bet you like to meet general contractors. She said, I really like to meet architects. I said, I was at a meeting this morning with an architect, and their chapter success coach is here. I bet he could introduce you. Let me take you over to meet him. They got the information they needed, so this member could have a connection with the person she's looking for to expand the business the way she wants to. So these are the things you're going to set up before your follow-up emails, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, but it feels like a good time maybe to pause and see, are there some comments in here that are going to really add some value, or some questions to cover first?
Let's see. So Jean says, her question to everyone is, so what do you do to keep yourself out of trouble? I love it. And Jennifer says, I like these questions because they're current. I heard questions like, how did you get into your business? But these are up to date and thought-provoking. So
good. Yeah.
Questions, but yes.
What do you do to stay out of trouble?
That's a good one. It's a very East Coast kind of question to ask.
All right, so now let's imagine you've had a vital and vibrant connection with someone, and you want to follow up. At the very least, it's completely appropriate to have a follow-up email to say, it was nice to meet you. And in your signature, you have your contact information so that they can reach out to you. And then maybe you start quarterly reaching out. I have a friend who will text me. We used to work together, and she'll say, it's time for my quarterly check-in. How are you? How's BNI? What's going on? How's your marriage? Blah, blah, blah. I must be on her calendar, and I don't feel like that's contrived at all. I think I'm important enough that she puts me on her calendar. She wants to touch base with me. It's actually very flattering. So when you send those follow-up emails, I want to just give you some tips about punctuation and spelling and grammar and those kinds of things, because this is why. One, you will want to do business with even cranky grammarians like me. And two, no one will be distracted or offended when you spell punctuate correctly, but somebody might be distracted if you don't. I can't imagine a scenario in which somebody would say, I am not doing business with that person because she puts the comma where it goes every time, and also has a really respectful signature. No, I'm not doing business with her. So I'm going to show you how to do it correctly, and then you decide. I have done this before in many seminars, and I had one woman say, it just looks wrong the way you're describing it. I think I'm going to do it the old way. And I said, you mean the wrong way? And she went, yeah. I said, all right, that's your choice, but I'm going to show you the correct way. Any of the greetings you see here could be appropriate. Dear Mr. Dobalina, Mr. Bob Dobalina. You could have dear, the name, and a comma. Perfectly acceptable. Now, these are follow-up emails. If you already know someone, it's a colleague, it's a friend. Obviously, these rules are not hard and fast. But for a first-time introduction email, this is your first written impression after you've made a person-to-person impression. Dear Mr. Dobalina, comma. Hello, comma, Bubba, period. Hello. Good morning. Anything brief, professional, friendly is fine. What I see a lot, and maybe you see this too, is that people kind of combine those first two, and they'll say, dear Bubba, comma, or hello, comma, Bubba, period. which is fun to say if you're talking to Siri, but hello, Bubba, comma is incorrect. So please never do this again. Hello, Bubba is a complete sentence. Now, again, 95% of the people that you are addressing your email to won't even read the salutation, and they won't notice where your punctuation is. But if you know it's correct every time, you won't even have to think about it. Free up that part of your memory for some creative marketing for your business or something. Because hello, comma, Bubba, period, would be the equivalent like you see up at the top, not the way we see here at the bottom. Good morning is good. There. Thank you, Jennifer. I think, Jennifer, you and I and Steve might all be kindred spirits. There. That's what you say to somebody, a grammarian who's upset. You say there.
Mhm.
So, hi, Bubba. Okay. No, Rick. Hi, comma, Bubba, period.
Well, let's jump back to Rick's hi, Bubba.
Okay.
This is by far the most common email greeting.
Yeah.
And I would say more than 90% of people do not put that comma after hi.
I know.
So we have to look at it two ways. Yes, correct way is hi, comma, Bubba. However, language evolves, and so does punctuation.
Agree to disagree.
Yep. We're going to agree to disagree here because, yes, what Jared says, it's probably 99.9%. You're correct. There are things that we have to look at in the way that people write these days.
Yeah.
But yes, if I were doing something formal, that comma is going to be there every time.
Yeah. So do you think, Steve, that's an interesting perspective. Do you think if someone writes an email and addresses it hi, comma, Steve, period, that's off-putting to you?
No, I don't find it off-putting at all.
But you think some people would?
I don't think they would find it off-putting, but I think that they might be on their guard when they respond that they have to be perfect in their punctuation.
And that's all I'm asking.
Yeah.
Is that they be perfect.
Right. Hey, I love perfect punctuation. It makes me happy. But
Right.
I've come to accept what is the norm.
Right, for sure.
Yeah.
I never, if it's consolation to any of the 200 plus people on this call, I never respond and correct people.
Right. It's always silently done.
Right.
Something
So
we
feel
pride
free to
ourselves on,
send
but
me.
we tell everybody that we do it silently. So what are we really saying?
Yeah, the cat's out of the bag. Everybody
That's
knows it
right.
now. All right, so and again, not a lot of people even notice the salutation, but if you do it one of these ways and forget it, you're fine. Dear Mr. So-and-so or dear Steve, comma, always appropriate. It's old as the hills, but it still persists. It's totally fine. Hello, without a name, good morning, whatever it is, totally fine. It's just, if you know better, you can do better.
Yeah.
And you certainly don't want to respond to someone and correct them. But if you know it, now you can do it differently. And if you don't, that's totally fine.
Yeah.
Same thing is true at the end of an email when we have a signature. Any of these are appropriate endings, and it's certainly not inclusive of all possible endings. But you're probably not going to go wrong choosing any adverb to end your email, because the signature tells the person how you are sending it. That's what an adverb does. So I am sending this email respectfully. I am sending this sincerely. I'm sending it with my regards. I'm sending it as my best, sometimes best regards. There are lots of ways you can do this. Anyone who has received an email from me knows that I sign my emails enthusiastically, Jenny. Now, if I'm delivering bad news, I erase that part because it seems a little tone deaf. So I will try to be appropriate. What you will often see, and maybe some of you are doing this, is you're doing something very casual. Hey, see ya, or not saying anything at all. Or many people have thanks, comma, in their block signature and then their names. I would consider maybe not having thanks, comma, in your block signature for a couple of reasons. First of all, if you've met someone at a networking event and now you're following up because you promised them you would give them a link to a resource they would find helpful, and you're saying, hi, it was so great to talk with you. Here is the podcast I told you about. I don't need to thank them because I'm the one who did the favor. So it's not always, you might be grateful, maybe in every encounter, you are signing your emails gratefully because you're grateful for the connection. That's different. But if you're always saying thanks at the end, I don't know that you need it. I'm not saying it's wrong. I just would ask you to consider. The other reason to consider it is if you have thanks, comma, and then your name, it has the grammatical effect of you thanking yourself. Just like I say, hi, comma, Steve, period. If I say thanks, comma, Jenny, I'm saying thanks, Jenny. And it might be construed as, it just grammatically, I don't know. We know you're
Well,
not.
yeah, you certainly don't want it on the same line.
No, well,
Right.
obviously, no.
Yeah.
Right. But you might just say thank you and not have a comma. You could say thankfully, comma, and then your name. But I think sometimes we get into ruts without realizing what we're saying. And if we got into the right ruts without thinking about it again, we could shift our professionalism a little bit as we're trying to make a first written impression that reinforces a positive personal impression that we already made. And then once you determine your adverb, then put it in your block signature and you can do it once and forget about it.
Yeah.
So sometimes I have seen people, depending on your culture, your relationships, you might put something like cheers. And that might be appropriate for you and the industry you work in. Maybe you have a specific tagline because of the industry you work in. But this is a part of your brand, both your signature and your salutation, that is now in written form to go. And when people go, who was that person? And they go back and look at your email, you'll have that first impression again. So it makes sense to take a minute to make sure that it's the impact you'd like it to have. What would you add, Steve?
This topic, man, I don't love it. And I'll tell you why. I have yet to settle on one. So I use like three dozen different ones. But I do agree that it's easier and simpler to go with just an adverb, comma.
Yeah.
And so mostly, I don't feel like I'm a sincerely person. It sounds like I'm, very formal. Respectfully is nice. I like yours, which is enthusiastically, which you don't see very often.
Yeah.
And actually fits your personality. If I put enthusiastically, people are like, well, someone wrote this email, it wasn't Steve. So I might be something more like gratefully. Yeah.
So soberly.
Once in a while, I'm a regards person. I don't do best. I never understood it. Yeah.
Whatever mood moves you that
But
day.
yeah, so I'm kind of on a rotating basis on that one.
Yeah. And I know that I have colleagues who all have in their block signature gratefully. And I get it because it matches the personality.
Yeah.
And it really is it kind of fits under branding, kind of fits with your company, with your personality. It doesn't need to be that kind of a thought process every time.
Yeah.
The reason I even bring it up is because when you're having a first impression email follow-up, you can have kind of a template for it. You could even save parts in quick parts in Outlook. There are lots of ways you can do it. This doesn't need to be where your creative energy goes. You could, just have it be done and not give it so much thought later. Because then the body of the email then, again, these are just some ideas for you to consider, but most of the time, people are reading their emails on the fly on their phones. So they need to be short. You need to get in there and say, whatever your quick little greeting is. Hi, happy Thursday. Good morning. Hope your week is going well. Doesn't need to be long, but it is nice to just kind of have a hello person-to-person interaction. And then remember how we connected. Remember how I met you. I met you on that Zoom call. Remember, I met you on speed networking. I liked our phone call. It was so good to see you at the after hours, just so they go, oh, that's right. Because whoever you're sending an email to probably gets as many emails as you do.
Yeah.
They're going to need a little help remembering, because unless you have a really big headshot in your signature, and I don't know that a lot of people do that, they might need to remember who you are. And then, why are you writing to me? Well, I was hoping to connect with you in the next couple of weeks over lunch to discuss. So your intentions are very clear. Hi, hope your weekend was great. It's Monday. I would love to meeting you over the weekend at the barbecue. I would love to have coffee and connect to talk more about blank. Super fast. Even on their phone, they don't even have to do this. It's right in the front. They remember, oh yes, I did want to meet with that person. And then what very specifically is the call to action that you have? Let me know if you are available for coffee next week. We don't want to leave it to say, I hope we can get together sometime. It's just like when ending your weekly presentation with, if you know somebody like this, send them my way.
Right.
Because that's my job to tell you how to send them. So let me know, are you available Tuesday or Thursday for lunch? Very specifically. And then they can just get that one off of their email list, and you can actually make a connection to continue the relationship. What else? Because we're going to have a little pop quiz next.
I do like this one because it really does get to the point, but it is such a good reminder. Sometimes we meet so many people at an event. There could be 100 people in the room. Like, who is this person? Oh, there you go. And it's all right there. And I'm like, oh, yes, now I remember.
Yeah. I got a very good example of this week. One of the mornings I went to a chapter visit, and at the end of the chapter meeting, the president came up to me, shook my hand. He said, when you did your weekly presentation, you said, I can't remember, and it gave me an idea I want to run by you. Here's my business card. Could we get together? And I said, yes, absolutely. I will be traveling for the next few days. It'd be better if you sent me an email. I had my name badge. We're coming back to that again, aren't we? So I said, it's just my first and last name at BNI.com. When I got back to my hotel at the end of the day, he had sent me an email. It was no longer than this. I have an idea I would love to run by you. Do you have a short time? Here's my Calendly link. I would love to connect by Zoom. It was exactly this. And I was like, yes, mister, let's do this, because he made it so easy for me to remember when we met and what the next step was going to be. So I loved that. All right.
Someone, Jenny, is asking about subject lines for the email. You have a suggestion?
Whenever I'm in doubt about a subject line, I ask you.
Yeah.
Short and punchy. I mean, I think they're huge, but
I think something like this, if you meet someone at an event, you just want to say a quick follow-up after the chamber event or our BNI meeting, whatever you did, because it just, it makes them say, oh, what are we following up on? Is there a possible referral in my future? I'm going to open that and read it.
Yeah. I think sometimes I have seen it both where it's very vague, like hello. I don't recommend that, because how do I know what you're talking about? Too vague. Or it's giving me the whole email. I have gotten emails from
in the subject line.
There's no email. It's all the subject line. I wouldn't do that.
Kills me every time.
Because I go, oh, an email, and I open it. There's nothing there. Then I have to go back to the subject line. Yeah. So be concise but descriptive, I think, would be my advice.
Yeah. Rosie says the first line after opening says, hope you are well. How do you feel about that?
I feel fine about that.
Yeah.
I hope you are well too, Rosie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All
right. Is it time for a pop quiz? I think
so.
It's a good time. Let's pull it all together with a poll.
All right, here comes.
This one has 3 questions. Is that right, Steve? I gave 3
It does,
questions.
yes.
Okay.
3 in a row. The first 2, you can only choose one. The third one, you can choose more than one.
Right. So hopefully we all got that first one out of the way, where your name tag. So you decide where you put that. Also, the second one, why is it a good idea to have some creative questions at the ready when you are networking? There might be some other good ideas, but there's one that's best in here. And then the third one, you can choose any that apply.
Right.
And I can't see the responses that are coming, but can you, because you're the host?
They were a little sluggish originally, but now they're flying in.
Yeah. People know. I anticipate a really high class score on this first one.
So far, there is one particular answer that they're giving, and luckily it's not that last one that you suggested.
I'm so predictable when I do my polls. 3 legitimate answers and a crazy one.
Yeah. The one you should never choose.
Oh. Virginia says she's not seeing the questions.
Okay, they should have popped up on your screen.
Oh. You can put your answers in the chat, Virginia. We'll add them in.
Yeah.
Oh, but you don't see the questions. How can you put your answers?
Oh, you have to. Okay, let's read the questions. The first one, it says, where do you wear a name tag? Is it on the upper right corner of your shirt jacket, the upper left corner, whichever side is most comfortable, or Name tags are ridiculous. Why can't people just remember everyone's name? Okay, don't pick that one. Number 2, why is it a good idea to have some creative questions at the ready when networking? Being at the center of attention is the best way to get something. People are boring and need your gift of conversation, or pleasant novelty in conversations make people like you more. Right. And finally, which are preferred signatures in an email? Thanks, regards, sincerely, respectfully, with admiration and affection.
That might be a little over the top.
It's a bit much.
As a clue.
Okay, so we have enough. We have 70% have chimed in. So let's end this poll in 5 seconds.
All right.
4, 3, 2, 1. Well, there goes one. And end. All right.
Sliding in at the last minute.
Here come our results for those who can see them.
Okay. I feel like this is a really good class.
Yep.
This is a really good class. The correct answer is, you remember, this is a reminder, maybe some of you who said the upper left, you came in to our class late, you get a detention because you were late to class. Yep. The upper right is where you wear your name tag. So number 1 is the first answer. Mm-hmm. Number 2, pleasant novelty in conversations makes people like and remember you. That is the preferable answer. My instinctive answer would be that being the center of attention is the best way to get new clients, but I don't always think that's true.
Well, you and one other person voted for that one.
Right. And that people are boring and need your gift of conversation. That is also often true. Mm-hmm. And then, sure, really, any of these you can make work. Regards, sincerely, respectfully, I think are the most common and will serve you the best with the most people. Yeah. Thanks is fine, with admiration and affection. Depending on, like, I met somebody this week who's a love coach. Yeah. So with admiration and affection, that might be a perfect signature for her. All right. Okay. So I don't know if anybody has any key takeaways that they'd like to put in here, or if this is also a good time for anything that might be in the Q&A section.
Well, we've got some stuff in the Q&A.
Okay, let's do that.
Let's see. I can't get the BNI Connect site to go past the initial portal. Can't seem to connect with anyone for help with this. What do I reach out to?
Oh, well.
Sounds like a ticket's got to be put in.
Yeah. Yeah. I would talk to your chapter success coach if you don't know where to go for that. But also in BNI Connect, you should be able to see a little help thing in the upper right-hand corner, and you can submit a ticket to the brilliant people who run BNI Connect, and they can help you with that as well.
Yep. All right. Brian says, I have done 173 one-to-ones over the last 11 months. Wow. The question is, I have less than 3% send me a referral as I work in all 50 states getting income tax money back for their clients. I connect with commercial insurance and CPA people. How often should I follow up with them, as their benefit is that I can get referrals for them as I work in their geographic area? That's a good question about follow-up. Yeah. Like, how much is too much and how much is not enough?
Right. Because if you don't do anything, you can guarantee you'll fall off their radar.
Right.
Yeah, I think the reason we have weekly presentations is to keep each other top of mind weekly. Mm-hmm. So if you are thinking of people, maybe you have a trip or you heard from a client in that state, oh, that's a reason for me to think of you. I'll reach out to you. Mm-hmm. We did, what was it, last year, maybe, Steve, that we read Mel Robbins' the 5-second rule.
5-second rule, yeah.
That you think, oh, I should reach out to that person. And then you put it off, and it takes 5 seconds to talk yourself out of it. When you are triggered to think of a person, maybe the best thing is to pick up your phone right that minute and send them a text. Hey, I'm thinking about you because I just worked with a client in Florida. You still doing business? Let me know if I can help in any way, or something like that. Mm-hmm. That's how I would do it, just to.
Yeah. Was it Arthur who said 7 to 10 is the goal for follow-up? And I think that's true, right? Yeah. I don't think they even start paying attention until, the 5th one comes by. Right. But I think you have to be careful within BNI to make sure that if you're not getting any response from someone, like if you're sending a personal email to them, like the one you were talking about, like, can we meet next Tuesday, for a quick one-to-one, and they don't get back to you, and then you send them another, you have to, at some point, you have to kind of let that person go. I
Yeah,
think they've
yeah,
been trying to be polite by saying, this isn't working for me.
yeah. Yeah, because you can't really maintain 119 or 173 new relationships and maintain the ones you already have and meet new clients. So not all of them are going to turn into referral treasures.
It's like when you send out a newsletter and people unsubscribe. Don't be offended. You just
Mhm.
said, all right, now I know who really wants to hear from me.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
move forward. Yeah.
yeah. I have heard you say that before. Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Is it okay to cold email BNI members from another local chapter?
Well, I would say the same rules apply to walking up to a person at a networking event. If you are reaching out to see if there's a potential for you to help each other and it's collaborative,
Mhm.
and your intent is the filter is helpful and givers gain, and maybe we can do some things together. I've heard that. I'm in one state, but I do a lot of business in another state. So I'd like to reach out to people. Maybe we can refer to each other. I think that's perfectly acceptable. And to recommend a one-to-one because it's about relationship. If you're just saying, I do business in your state, can you give me referrals? Then I would say no.
Yeah, and the other thing I'd be careful about is the way this is written. I'm assuming this is, I am going to send an email to one person in a chapter that's nearby that I think we can do business.
Mhm,
That's, I think, fine,
mhm.
but do not send out a blast to an entire chapter.
For
That is a
sure.
huge no. We don't want to do
Yeah.
that.
For sure. Yeah. And I would also just be sensitive if you're a realtor, for example, and you want to meet with the mortgage broker in another chapter, know that that mortgage broker has loyalties to the realtor in his or her chapter. And there might be a creative way you can do business together, but always be aware of the members in that other chapter the person might already have a relationship with.
Yeah, Michelle suggests visiting the chapter rather than just emailing them. I like that idea a lot.
I like it too. That's good,
Um,
Michelle.
let's see. And on email signatures, what about using warmly? How do you feel about that?
Yeah. Yeah.
That works.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Edward's asking, is the webinar recorded? Yes, we are recording this. We will post it to our BNI Team USA YouTube channel about, I don't know, 5 o'clock tonight. It'll be the last thing I do before the weekend commences.
Heading out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's all of our Q&A.
Okay, well, good. Then I hope that your key takeaway will be that anybody can collect business cards and you can shake hands, and that is not what networking is, because connecting for impact is about being memorable, helping people, and building those strategic relationships. And that takes time. And it's over time with the intentionality and the strategy. That's how you'll have an impact on your business. So connecting for impact is about being intentional and strategic. And I really do believe nobody does it better than BNI members who get it. So now you all get it.
All right. Was this the last slide? Because there should be one more. There we are. Hey, everybody. Join us next week. We have Frank Pipolo, a fun name to say, and he knows a lot about pay-per-click advertising, which I know very little. This is the one thing, while I work within SEO, I'm always on the organic side. So he's going to tell us all about pay-per-click advertising, how it works, who it's good for, who it isn't. So check that one out next week. And please give yourselves a CEU for being on today as well. Jenny, thanks so much. It was nice having you back.
Well, thanks. It was good to be here with you.
Yeah. All right. We must do this again sometime, and I'm sure we will.
I'm sure we will. I never go away, do I?
I know. That's a good thing. All right. Thanks, everybody, for your time today. And we'll see you all next week.
Bye.